Hey everyone, what's up? I am finally home from college and today is Monday, so that means it's story time. I don't have to tell you guys because you already assume that it's story time. But first of all, before we get into it, right now I'm doing some smithing at the Artisan's workshop. That's just because I'm going for the trim requirement. I think I mentioned it last Monday that I had it banked for the maximum percent at the reward shop in Artisan workshop, so I just have to get, I think, 150% more. Let me go check really quick before we give false information out here. Okay, let's see. I know that I've gained like 2 mil smithing XP, which is pretty cool. For the price, I better get a pretty decent amount of XP, but right now, the rewards we have left is all the ceremonial swords, so that's 30, 60, 90, 120, 150%, and I have 5 out of that. I've gotten everything else, so only 150% left. I have all these supplies right here. I think it's enough. It might be too much. Who knows? But at least it'll be over with soon. I'm happy that I have it banked and done. I mean, it's the only trim comp requirement that requires money pretty much, so I just wanted to get it out of the way while I had some money. So that's what I've been doing recently. I haven't gotten any black ibis, although I checked my adventure log like 2 days ago, and apparently like 5 days ago I got the black ibis boots, but I actually didn't. I didn't receive them. They obviously went to the floor after I feed the last urn before I got kicked out probably, and I didn't get back in time. I didn't even notice I got them, so I'm kind of upset I didn't get that black ibis piece. It's just going to be another piece I have to get in the future, but I mean, what can I say? I just haven't gotten lucky recently, and I'm at 20.9 mil thieving XP now, so I'm just making some progress in that. But hopefully I'll get full black ibis and a scepter of the gods soon. No promises, it's very rare, so I'm not expecting it, but I hope to get it soon. So anyways, as I'm smithing, let's start story time. Now, before I start the actual story time, I have a little disclaimer to put out before any of you guys get angry at me. If you guys are below the age of 15 or you have a very wide imagination and you believe in such things as Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy, then please leave this video. They are all real and they all exist, and they will make all of your dreams come true. I promise, they're all real. Just please click out of this video and go watch a different video, because the rest of this video is not what you want to hear. So anyways, for those people who do want to hear the story time, continue on listening. Anyways, this is a story about the Tooth Fairy. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard about the Tooth Fairy if you haven't been forced to believe it, or if you haven't, experienced it yourself. I'm sure you've heard of the Tooth Fairy. So anyways, my story about the Tooth Fairy is quite personal. It's pretty funny, and I think it's hilarious. It's funny because I just found the note that the Tooth Fairy wrote me. Now, this is probably one of my funnier stories. I just recently remembered that I had this story, and I just dug it out of the bottom of my heart and was like, this is hilarious. I need to tell people this. So anyways, back when I was a young lad, I don't know, probably about, what's the ages you usually, I guess, dream up of the Tooth Fairy? I guess maybe like around 8 years old. I don't want to seem like that I was a really stupid child or anything, but as a young child, and even now, I have a pretty wide imagination. I'm very creative, so I believed in that stuff. I believed in all that things, and I'm not religious at all. I am technically Jewish. My mother's Jewish and my dad's Catholic, so we celebrate all the holidays ever since I was young, but I've never believed in Santa Claus because that wasn't a thing. I was pretty much just Jewish. I was pretty much raised with the Jewish holidays, but we celebrated Christmas and all those other holidays as well. So I never had a really big chance to actually believe in Santa Claus, so I only had the Tooth Fairy. And this was something that was pretty serious. I was like, oh, this is the Tooth Fairy. The Tooth Fairy gives me money for my teeth. This is awesome. This person is obviously a god because this is I'm getting money for my used teeth that fell out of my mouth. Like, great. What else would I do with those? Flush them down the toilet? Throw them out? Who knows? So, anyways, I was about, let's just say, 8 years old. I don't really remember when I had this experience, but I was believing in the Tooth Fairy, just like any other, I guess, young child would. So I actually wrote a note to the Tooth Fairy. My mom, before I went to bed one time, because I had a tooth fall out of my mouth, it was one of my baby teeth, obviously, and I had this book. My mom bought a book with this little, Tooth Fairy puppet thing, and it was a little book, and it said, the Tooth Fairy, and it was this, little story about the origin of the Tooth Fairy. And my mom read it to me, and I was like, wow, I hope the Tooth Fairy visits. I'm going to write it a letter. I'm going to write the Tooth Fairy a letter, and hopefully this Tooth Fairy will write a letter back to me. And my mom goes, oh, you have a pretty good chance of it writing back to you. And, you know, why don't you go write it a letter now before you go to bed and put it under your pillow with the tooth, and maybe she'll write one back. And you'll get money or something. And I was like, that's a great idea, Mom. I'm going downstairs right now to write a note. So I ran downstairs, I wrote a note, and the letter I sent went something like this. It was like, Dear Tooth Fairy, do you love your job? I have a tooth that fell out of my mouth, and I really would like some money for it, and I hope that you could put it to use. Also, what do you do with all these teeth? Do you make a necklace out of it, or what do you do with it? And, you know, I hope you have a great day. Thank you again. Love, Lee. It was something like that. It was something really, really corny and something like a young child would write. So, I'll go to bed that night, and I put the letter under my pillow. I put my tooth under the pillow, and I was like, I really hope the Tooth Fairy writes me back. If that Tooth Fairy does not write me back, I will not like the Tooth Fairy. So anyways, I wake up the next morning, and my tooth is gone. There's a dollar bill, and I have a note, and I have the note in my possession right now. I found it the other day, and I laughed so hard when I first read this. So I'm going to read you guys the note I got back from the Tooth Fairy. And this is my sound right here. That's the sound of a paper unraveling, just to prove that I have it in my possession. And this is what it says. Dear Lee, my name is Trish. Yes, I love my job. Back up in the land west of the Morning Star where I live, I've made a beautiful mountain of teeth. I keep them sparkling clean and polished. I take very good care of them. Your friend, the Tooth Fairy. And then it says, P.S. You should always be grateful for what you get and never expect any more. P.S.S. I think you're very special. And I just lost it. When I found this note, I laughed so hard because it's hilarious. It really is just so funny. But anyways, before I get into my reaction about this, I read that note and I was like, oh my god, the Tooth Fairy wrote back. This is the Tooth Fairy. Guys, do you know that this is the Tooth Fairy just wrote me back? I was like, Mom, look, I got $1 for my tooth. And they wrote back. How nice of the Tooth Fairy. So I just went downstairs and I was like all excited. My mom was like, wow, let me read it. And she read it like she didn't know. And she was like, wow, that's awesome. You know, next time write her another letter saying thank you and stuff. And thank you for the money and whatnot. So I'll never forget. I came home from a day of school. And I got in trouble that day. I was, like I said, back in about elementary school and middle school, I was a troublemaker. And I got in trouble a lot just for being talkative. I was one of those kids who always on their progress reports or report cards said talks in class or very talkative or talks and disturbs the class. And it was just something I got regularly. I literally only didn't get it in 5th grade, and any year before that or after that I got it. So that's not one of my favorite things on my resume, but whatever. And I came home and I showed my mom the thing, and she had to write a note to my teacher saying that she got the note and, you know, I'm sorry, and he'll never do it again, blah, 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 blah. So I take the note, and I look at it, just to see what my mom wrote. And it was in the same handwriting, same pen, as the one the Tooth Fairy wrote me. So I opened up both notes, and I put them next to each other. I just sat there for a second, and I didn't say this exact words, but I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Why does the Tooth Fairy have the same handwriting as my mother? What is going on right now? This can't be real. They do not have the same penmanship. This is not right. The Tooth Fairy does not have the same stuff as my mother. What is going on here? What in the flying fuck? Okay, so I was just pretty much, I guess, raging because I just found out that the Tooth Fairy was my mother, or that they just had really, really close penmanship. So I didn't really, like, I guess, express that to my mom. I didn't say that I knew that it was a Tooth Fairy, but after that day, I kind of knew that it was my mother and not a Tooth Fairy. And the next time I lost my tooth, I put it under my pillow, and I went to sleep. But I didn't go to sleep. I just closed my eyes and kind of faked the sleep. So I kind of tried to trap my mother, and late in the night I heard her come in about an hour after I pretended to fall asleep. I was just kind of like keeping my eye open and checking every now and then just to try to catch her in the act. And I pretended to wake up as she walked into my room. And she was like, oh, okay, I was just checking that you were sleeping, Lee. I hope everything's okay. And I was like, oh, okay, Mom. And I was like, I nailed you. Like, just in my head, I was like, I got you. You're the Tooth Fairy. You've been lying to me. There is no Tooth Fairy. You put the money there. You wrote the note. Your name is really Trish. What is going on? And I just knew ever since that moment. So I kind of lost my belief of the Tooth Fairy at that age. And I really didn't believe in, like I said, Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny because I was just never raised like that. And I'm not religious at all. But that was just probably the funniest thing that has ever happened with something that I've like really believed in. I found out that the tooth fairy was indeed my mother, and I have this note still that I'm going to keep forever because this is the funniest thing ever. But I wanted to just express something really quickly, is if you do believe in those kind of things, or if you have a brother or a sister, obviously younger, and they still believe in these things, encourage them. Don't say, oh, it's not real, it's not real. Don't push them down. Kind of just give them the creative aspect and let them be creative. Let them have an imagination and let them run with it, because nothing is more important than a creative imagination and just having a kind of belief in the world. And nothing makes you feel more special than having that belief. You know, like you really want to have something to believe in like that. And I just suggest you support their kind of young kind of manners and not push them away from those, because the more and longer they're creative, the better they are or will be in life. So let them believe in that, and obviously when the time comes they'll find out that it's not true or real, but keep believing and let them believe. But there's something about this note that I would like to say as kind of a lesson or something like that. My mom actually wrote something nice as this tooth fairy and said, P.S. you should always be grateful for what you get and never expect any more. And I think that's absolutely great, and that's something that they've actually taught me. When I say they, I mean my parents, that you should always be grateful for what you receive, and I am extremely grateful for the life I live, for the people I am around, the people in my life, my friends, family, the situation I am on YouTube, just everything about my life I'm extremely grateful for, and I'm extremely thankful for, and I don't ask for any more. I just ask that I can continue this and keep up this for a living, because this is what I want to do, is just entertain people, inspire people, and just share my kind of knowledge and my passion through video making or music, and just have fun and do what I love to do for a living. So I'm always grateful, so always be grateful for what you get and don't expect any more, because obviously the life you live is great. Sometimes people have hard lives and people have struggles, but they always prevail. So everyone just be grateful for what you get, and if you have a younger brother or younger sister, make sure they still believe in what they believe. Don't push them away from that, because nothing is more sincere than believing in that tooth fairy or that Santa Claus or Easter Bunny or the Hanukkah monster. Who knows? I mean, whatever goes. So anyways, that's my story time, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. The tooth fairy kind of disappointed me back when I was a young child, but it was a great effort by my mom. She really did try to embrace that, and she never made me feel bad about it or anything like that. And I don't know if she knows that I found out that she was the tooth fairy. I might go and tell her right now after this video. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you comment your stories about what you believed in, or how you found out that your parents were the Easter Bunny, the Santa Claus, I said the Santa Claus, I meant Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, or any other made-up character. So just leave that in the comments below. I'd love to read your stories. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Don't forget to talk to me on Twitter at Regicidal, and don't forget to like my Facebook page, Regicidal Productions. All of the information will be in the description below. Liking my Facebook page, people will not find out that you play RuneScape, because it's not a RuneScape page, just a video making page, a director's page. So like that page, follow me on Twitter, and suggest your next storytime topics there too, as well as the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Later, everyone.